Hi, I'm Polina Chernomaz and I will be showing you some of the main features of Asset Tracker and giving a tutorial that directly matches the steps in the Asset Tracker Alpha Release User Test Google form that will be linked in the description below. This tutorial will be going through by sections. So the first section is to sign in and out. To sign in Asset Tracker, we click the button Sign in with APPA, which then takes you to a page APPA Tracker Login, where you log in with your given username and password. And then you click Login. So now we've entered the Asset Tracker application. To sign out, you go to the top right of the screen and you'll see a user icon. You'll click it and then you'll have a pop-up with a sign out button there. So you click sign out to sign out of the application. Next, we have to examine assets, so let's sign back in to the Asset Tracker. First, let's view a table by toggling tables. To do that, we go to the top left of the screen and the very last icon is to toggle tables. Right now we don't have a table view, so that's why it looks disabled, but once we click on it, now the table pops up on the bottom of the screen, which shows you a list of all of the assets on the map right now. Let us find a switch. So we can use the table to find an asset by searching any of the fields that would be under columns in this table. So that means we can view by asset type. So let's try switch. Now you can see that there is a switch on the map, and if you click on the row of the table itself, it'll highlight it and also select that asset inside the map. So as you can see, the view switched to the switch on the map, which also switched the view of this asset panel on the right, which now is showing the asset attributes for the selected asset. So right now we've selected the switch named 671-692. Let us toggle the tables. So let's click on the tables again, and now the tables have disappeared. We can also find an asset by hovering over the assets, which then shows the name. Now, let us examine some switch asset details. So if we go over to this panel on the right, you will see the switch details. If you open this switch dropdown, you will see its attributes, which here are phase count, positive sequence resistance, zero sequence resistance, and more. Let's close it. Now, you can also see the buses that are on the asset. Buses are where connections are formed. So if you click on bus 0, it will also highlight that bus on the map. As you can see, it's yellow here. And you can see that that bus is connected to a line. Now let's close this. And finally on the bottom you have utility name. Now let's find a meter. Here we've hovered over an asset and it shows us it's a meter, so we can click on it, which then puts the meter into view on the asset details panel. And if you remember, we can also search for a meter on the table. So let's try that for a second. We go to the left, toggle tables on again, and instead of the switch, let's clear that and type in meter, which now shows you all of the meters you have on the map right now. Since we do have one of the assets selected, that's why the row on the table is highlighted yellow. It's corresponding to the selected meter on the map. If you want to select another one, just click on another row in the table. Now let's close this table again. Let us try to change the view to tasks layer. To do this, you'll go over to this left portion of the screen, which will show you all the layers available. We are now on the assets layer, but we also have a tasks and risks layer. So let's click on the tasks. As you can see, the icons have disappeared from the map. And that is how you can see if you've exited the assets layer. Also, the panel changes on the right, and right now there are no tasks to show for this asset. Let us try to change the map style to satellite and then back to dark mode. In order to do that, we go over to the left side of the screen to the first icon on the left, which is to toggle styles. So if we click once, we'll be brought into a light map style, and then if we click once again, you will be in a satellite style, and then if you click once more, you'll be back into a dark style. Now, let me show you some exploration techniques. Let's go back to the assets layer, and let's click on any of the assets. So here in the panel, you can see that this power quality asset has two buses. If you click on this bus, it will highlight the top bus, and if you click on bus 1, it'll highlight the bottom bus, which is also connected to the meter, as you can see, and the line. And if you want to see which asset it's connected to, you can click once here. Well, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see more clearly. So if you click on this meter once, its name will show up next to its asset. And if you click on this line, now the line name is showing next to the line. Now if you want, you can actually double click one of these connected assets on the panel to jump to the asset itself. So for example, let's double click this line, and now we're in the view of the line asset on the panel, and the line asset is selected. Now let's try to recreate the network in the image shown on the Google form. I will show that image on the screen so that we can follow along. So first, let us click and drag the map over to a part that has no assets on it so we can start fresh. Let's click the Add or Edit Assets button. That brings us into an Add or Edit mode where we can add or edit assets to our map. The first asset that we want to add is a generator, and we can do that by going over to this toolbar on the left that shows you all the possible assets that you could add. So here we found generator. You can click on that button on the toolbar, and then we can place it on the map by clicking anywhere on the map where you want to place it. Now if you look over to the panel on the right, you can see that the asset has a name that was generated based on the location that we've placed it on the map. But we want to change it to a name called My Generator, so let's click in this field, erase, and type in My Generator. The next thing we want is to add a switch. So let's go back to the toolbar and click on the switch, and then back on the map where we want to place it. And we want to name this switch My Switch. So let's change the name to My Switch. Next, we want to add a transformer. So we go back to the toolbar, we find transformer, and then we go on the map where we want to place it and click. Now we want to change the asset name to Transformer 1. So let's enter Transformer 1. Next, we want to add 3 meters. Going back to the toolbar, we will find the meter, and then we will place it on the map. We want to change the asset name of the first meter to meter 1. Then we add a second meter. And change the asset name to meter 2. Then we'll add one more meter, place it next to meter 2, and change its name to meter 3. Now, let us add a line to connect my generator to my switch. So we go to the toolbar and we select the line. Now, in order to make a connection, we have to select a bus on the asset from which we're making the connection. So here we will be making it from my generator. And then we have to click on a bus on the asset you are making a connection to. In this case, my switch. So we will click on my switch's bus and you double click to end the line. And now you can see there's a connection. You can see that by looking at the panel. Right now, bus 0 is highlighted, and if you open the drop-down, you will see that it's connected to a line. And remember, you can double-click this line to put the view of the line in the panel. Now, let us add a line to connect my switch to transformer 1. So we'll go to the toolbar, select line again, go on the other bus this time of my switch, and then double click on the bus of the transformer to make a connection. And as you can see again in the panel, the bus 0 that is highlighted has a connection with a line, and you can click once just to see the name of the line next to its asset. The next thing we want to do is to add a line to connect meter 1 to my switch. So let us go back to the toolbar, select line, and click on the bus on the meter, and then connect it to the bus on my switch. Now we want to change the name of the line asset to line 1. So we click on the line and change the name to line 1. The next step is to add a line to connect transformer 1 to meter 2. So we click on the bus on transformer 1 and then on the bus for meter 2 and select the line and change the name of the line to line 2. The last step is to add a line to connect transformer 1 to meter 3 and then change the name of the line asset to line 3. So we have to select the line and change it to line 3. Now let us save just to see. So clicking save saves all of your changes and now puts all of these assets onto the map. Let us recreate the next network on the form, and I will show that image on the screen so we can follow along. Let us go back into Add or Edit mode by clicking the Add or Edit assets on the top of the screen. Now the first thing we want to do is to delete meter 3. To do that, you click on the asset, and you can delete the asset by clicking the Delete Asset button on the bottom of the panel. This will bring you a pop-up that will warn you that you will permanently be losing the asset's attributes, connections, tasks, and risks. And to confirm this deletion, you will have to click Delete Asset here. Now there is another way to delete an asset. You can click an asset and also press the delete key on your keyboard to bring up the same pop-up. And then you click again Delete Asset in order to confirm the deletion. Now we want to move meter 2 away from line 2. In order to do that, you click on the meter 2 asset and then you click the red circle in the middle, you hold, and then you drag the asset away. And once you're satisfied with the location where you want to place it, you let go, and then the asset will be placed in that location on the map. Also, if you noticed, there was a bus added to the end of this asset. So if you're ever moving an asset away from a connection, then the previous asset will form a bus on the end to indicate their division. Now let us connect line 2 to meter 2. We'll do that by selecting line 2, clicking and holding on the edge of the line, the endpoint, and then dragging it over to meter 2's bus in order to make a connection again. Now, I will show you some other editing techniques. We have a feature of dragging a new midpoint from a line. I will show you on this line. As I'm hovering over a line, I have a circle that is following my cursor. If you actually click once, then a midpoint is created. But you can also click and drag it out, and then you'll see that you have a midpoint as well. To delete the midpoint from the line, you have to click on this circle, and then you'll have a delete icon popping up over it. You can click that to delete. We can also connect a line to the middle of a line. So you can click the line on the toolbar, start in the middle of nowhere on the map, and then as you hover over the line, you can double click to end the line, which will then make a connection. And this is different from the way I've shown you previously of us having to click on another bus in order to make a connection. Here we can just click on the middle of a line to make a connection. And as you can see from this line that is selected, the bus that is on it, the yellow one that's highlighted on the map, has one connection, and that will be that line that we just drew. There you can see that we've successfully made a connection. Now let us delete this. The next section is to analyze risks. Let us update meter2 asset attributes. In order to do that, you have to be in add or edit mode. So you will have to go over to the meter2 asset. You will see its details on the panel. You open the meter dropdown, and you will see all the fields that you can fill for the details of this asset. So let us change the vendor name to Selink. Let us change the product name to Cell2241. And let us change the meter type to commercial. Now let's update my switch asset attributes. So we can select the switch. Now we can see all of its attributes that we can fill in. But you will have to scroll down to see its vendor name and product name. Let us change the vendor name to Selink as well, and the product name to Cell2241. And now we click Save to save our changes, and you can see that the panel has been updated with what we filled in. Now, in order to see the risks that I will be showing you, we have to wait for a moment before we refresh the page in order for the risks to load. So let's wait for about 3 seconds. And if I refresh the page, you can see that the risks number has updated from 6 to 12. Now let us view the risks by changing the layer to risks layer. And now you can see that instead of the icons, we can see a number on the assets that have risks. And this number indicates the risks on the asset. Now if you click on the switch, you will notice that you have red lines now coming out from the switch. What these red lines signify is the assets that would lose power if an asset goes down. So here, if the switch shuts down, it takes down power to the downstream circuit. If you want to see the details of the risks, you can go over to the panel on the right, where you can see a threat score, a meter count, and a description, as well as a name. Now the next section is to manage tasks, so we will be exploring tasks. Let us click on the tasks layer on the left. Now we're on the tasks layer. Let us add a task to meter 1. So let us select meter 1. As you can see, there are no tasks to show for meter 1. We have not added any yet. We can add a task by clicking the Add Task button on the bottom of the panel. Let us set the task name to Update Firmware. And change the priority to Important. Now let's click Create. Now you can see that the task list has been updated with our new task that we've added. Our next step is to add 2 comments to the update firmware task. In order to do this, you have to click on the update firmware task on the list, which will then open up a full screen view of the task details. Here in the middle we have a comments section where we can type a comment on the bottom. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'll just type 1. And as you can see, the comments section has been updated. And 2. Now, let us set the update firmware task status to pending. So you can go over on the right, then select pending. And your changes are saved, so if you close this view now, you can see the comments have been updated and the status is changed to pending. I will also show you how this filter works. At first, the filters normal, important, new, and pending are selected, or all besides done and cancelled, because initially we show only the active tasks. Then we can click clear all in order to clear the filter and show all tasks, including done and cancelled ones. Right now, we don't have any done, so let's actually select done. And then you will see that the list is now empty, the filter is working. The next section is to manage data. Let us export a CSV file. We can do that by going over to the top right of the screen and clicking on the button on the left, Import and Export Assets. Now by default, we export assets with the format CSV. So for right now, we can just click OK, and you will see your file being saved. I'm on the Mac, so I will have to open with Excel because it's default numbers. I'd rather use Excel. Then an Excel file will open with all the possible columns, and one of them is an asset name. So you will search for my generator, which is on the bottom, and then we will change the name to generator 123. Enter, and then save, and then we will close Excel. So we will go back to import and export assets on Asset Tracker and import the updated CSV file by selecting import assets, and now we can actually drop a file. So let's try that and drop it from the Finder. Now you can see it's been successfully added on the bottom left, and we want to select overwrite existing records in order to see changes. So we click OK, and you will have a prompt asking you if you really do want to overwrite all existing assets, and they will be replaced with the changes you've made in your Excel. So yes, overwrite them. Now you will either have a successful or a not successful message. For right now we have great, so the CSV file has been uploaded successfully. Now we can see the changes by hovering over the generator asset, and you can see that its name is changed to generator 123, or you can click on the asset itself and you can see on the top of this panel its name as well. Now we want to export a DSS file. So let us click on this Import and Export Assets button on the top right once more and export now a format of DSS. Here you can select a power source. Right now we have actually 2 generators on the map. One was in the network in the beginning of this video, and there's also our generator 123. We could just select generator 123, and now we can click OK. And then your DSS file will open. In order to open this file, you have to use a text editor. I will be using Atom for the purposes of this video. And this is what your assets.dss file should look like. This is the end of the tutorial, and I hope you now have a better sense of how to use Asset Tracker. Thank you.